Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Homemade. And today, you all, we are making a really simple and easy recipe as usual. But today, we are going to make biscuits and gravy. Now, this recipe, again, it is so simple. And I typically have a way that I like to make my biscuits, which that method is easy. You can find that on another video. But this method is even easier. Go ahead and get started on our biscuits. Once we get those ready and popped into our oven, we are going to come back and I'm going to show you how to make the easiest sausage gravy ever. In this bowl, you all, I do have 2.5 cups of self-rising flour. I do like to use self-rising flour with my biscuits. Now, if you want to use all-purpose flour, that is totally fine, but you want to make sure that you do add your baking powder and you add your salt, because those are the things that's going to help the biscuits rise. My Imperial, it is not room temperature, but it's not super cold. If you are using it straight from the refrigerator, you can grate it. For our shortening, we are going to use 1/2 cups of vegetable shortening. And of course, I'm not measuring this. I'm just really eyeing it. But if you were measuring it, you would use 1/2 cup. And all we're going to do before we add our cream in, we want to make sure that we get our flour and our shortenings incorporated in there really well. Okay. Now that we have that incorporated in, we are going to add our heavy cream. So we are going to use 2.5 cups of the heavy cream. I'm putting in more. So our dough is ready. Now, I am going to pour this out onto my table. And again, we don't have to knead this dough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and grease my pan with some of my Imperial. Now, I have already sanitized my workstation. So I'm going to pour my dough out. And as you can see, it is tacky. Our dough is tacky. We're just going to kind of make this into a ball. Press it out. And you want to make sure you do have your flour down onto your surface, because you don't want your dough to stick. Now I'm going to take, I have a biscuit cutter, but I just use a bowl or a cup to cut out my biscuits. And just want to cut them out just like that. I have my oven preheated to 355 degrees. I am going to put these in there, let them cook for about 15 minutes. Once they cook for about 15 minutes, the top should brown. If the top has not browned, I do like to place my oven on broil just to brown the top of my biscuits. Once they brown, I like to pull them out, melt some butter, pour over the top of them, let them rest for a few minutes, and then eat them. Now, while they're cooking, I am going to come back and show you how to make the easy sausage gravy. So let's go ahead and put these into the oven. Now, you all, this gravy, again, it is super simple. I like to make it if I have leftover sausage. If I have any residue left over in my bowl, if I'm making biscuits, I like to keep that because I use that to mix up my gravy. Because again, the gravy is only flour and it's going to be milk. We are going to add a little water to this as needed to thin the gravy out because we don't want it to be so thick. I am just chopping these up into see, in this bowl, I just have some of my biscuit residue. I do have 2 cups of whole milk. I like to just kind of whisk everything together really well with the flour that I already have in there before I add any more flour. So we're going to salt this to taste. And for my pepper, I like to use cracked pepper. Now, if you don't have cracked pepper and you have regular ground pepper, that is totally fine. I just like the way that the cracked pepper actually looks in it. And what I like to do is I typically like to just cover the top of my bowl with the pepper. I added about 2 tablespoons of flour because remember, the flour is what's going to give our gravy the thickness. And I have about 2 tablespoons of the Imperial there. I'm going to add a few tablespoons of my water in there already. I'm going to go ahead and add in my sausage. So our sausage has heated and we are now getting ready to start making our gravy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add in my milk and flour mixture. Make sure I give that a good stir. I am going to reduce my heat to low. Now, if you'll notice, our gravy is starting to bubble. That's what we want. So we're going to let this cook for a few more minutes, maybe about 3 or 5 more minutes. Let it cool down, and you all, we are going to come back, top our biscuit off with this wonderful gravy, and it is going to be so good. I like to take a little melted butter and margarine, just spread over my biscuits. We made these biscuits from scratch with flour, shortening, and heavy cream. Now, you tell me how much easier does it get? So, I have my bowl. Look at how fluffy they are. They are just so tender. Like, melt in your mouth tender. Have to try this recipe. I can honestly just eat the biscuit without the gravy. But I am going to go ahead and put some gravy on here. Hands down, if you pair these two, you will not be disappointed. This gravy with these biscuits, when you try this recipe, you will try it. Make sure you leave your comments in the comment section below. Leave your pictures. Let me know how it turned out for you. Now, if you want to keep seeing our easy homemade recipes, you all, we literally just made biscuits and gravy from scratch in less than 20 minutes. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share our channel if you want to keep seeing these easy homemade recipes. As I always say, cooking, it's as easy or as hard as you make it. But I promise you, if you just keep it simple, be yourself, life in itself can be so much easier. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Homemade. And until next time, continue to be great.